Greetings YouTubers, Atari Leaf here with another pickups video. Today I added 15 games to the collection, including 2 for the original Game Boy, 8 for the Game Boy Advance, 1 for the SNES, and 4 for the Sega Genesis. Let's start with the original Game Boy. Okay, the first game is Tetris. Not too much to say about this. Everyone's familiar with the concept. I've been finding a lot of versions of Tetris lately, including Tetris Worlds for the GBA and Tetris DX for the Game Boy Color. But this was the original. Didn't have it. It was only a couple of bucks, so why not? Next we have Miss Pac-Man for the Game Boy. Plays really well, and it goes nicely with the Pac-Man game I have for the original Game Boy too. Again, not gonna spend too much time talking about this one either. It's Miss Pac-Man, everyone knows it. It's a very good port, and that's about it. I think I got this one online for $3 plus shipping. Not bad, and it's one I've been wanting for a while for the collection anyway. Okay, let's move on to the GBA. The first game is the family card game classic Uno and Skipbo. One of the things that's great about handheld systems like the Game Boy Advance is that they're perfect for these more traditional style of card or board games, and Uno Skipbo plays very well with lots of options, including the number of computer players, game rules, backgrounds, music, and so forth. The AI plays a really sharp game, and it almost seems like the computer players are programmed to gang up on you. But I still really enjoy games like this and recommend it. Got this one from the local game store, Game Cycle, with store credit. I love store credit. Next, on a similar theme, I found this one simply called Ultimate Card Game Classics, which is, as you guessed, a collection of card games including some poker games, solitaire, and traditional card games like euchre, canasta, gin rummy, crazy eights, and hearts. I'm a big euchre and canasta fan, having played these games with family and friends growing up, and have enjoyed playing PC versions over the years, including the Hoyle and Bicycle, DOS and Windows games. And like Uno Skipbo, there's a plethora of options and settings that you can change to suit your preferences. Really like this one for some great card games on the go. And if you're an older gamer like me, this is a nice change of pace. This one was online with some PayPal cash that I had. Like card games, I'm also a big fan of puzzle games, and this compilation of Dr. Mario and Puzzle League is a fantastic collection of 2 great puzzle games. I like Dr. Mario just fine, but personally I bought this one more for Puzzle League, being a fan of Tetris Attack or Panel de Pon. This one strips out all the cutesy characters and leaves behind the heart of the game itself, which is still very solid and playable, and like the card games, gives you lots of options to choose from. Got this one from the local game store as well with store credit. Next we have the first of 2 classic arcade compilations. This one contains Asteroids, Yar's Revenge, and Pong. The first 2 play really well, but Pong is hard to control. No surprise, as I've mentioned many times before, that paddle-style games do not work well with a digital D-pad, so you don't have that precise movement that you need to play the game. I already have a few compilation carts with Asteroids, and I primarily picked this one up for Yar's Revenge, which I don't have a version of on the handhelds, but it's worth it even just for that one game. This was $5 at Value Village, but it was free as my wife had to return some clothes and I got the store credit. Yay me! The second similar compilation cart contains Super Breakout, Millipede, and Lunar Lander. Do I need to mention the problems with Super Breakout? No, I suppose not. It's not bad, but again, control, control, control. Millipede plays well, and Lunar Lander is a nice addition, being a more obscure game from the 70s, but still a lot of fun, if a little challenging. I picked this one up for $2.50 at a local cash converters. Thanks to Bretsky for letting me know about that one. Next we have Donkey Kong for the GBA, part of the classic NES series, so it's basically just the NES version ported to the GBA. Still, it's a very solid game on the GBA, but my only lament is that it's missing the Pi stage, which is, of course, also missing on the NES version. Got this one also with my wife's stolen Value Village credit. Sorry honey, I'll make it up to you. LOL. I've mentioned many times that I'm a big pinball fan, and I found this one online called Hardcore Pinball, which contains 4 nicely done tables: Station, Soccer, Robotech, and Retro. This game reminds me a lot of an old DOS pinball game from Expert Software called Pinball 4000, and I swear that some of the sound effects, especially on the soccer table, are exactly the same as Pinball 4000. I don't know if there's any connection between this Telegames release and Expert Software, which was bought by Activision I believe, but there's definitely some similarities. Anyway, the physics and gameplay are well done, and it works very well as a handheld pinball game, and I'm glad I got it in my collection. This was another Lukey Games purchase from eBay with my oodles of PayPal cash. Finally, on the GBA, and the one I think is the absolute best of the GBA games in this video, is Eridian 2, the sequel to Eridian 3D, and it's outstanding in every sense of the word. The story is a common alien invasion story, but where this game shines is in the combination of beautifully rendered graphics, sounds, music, and balanced gameplay. Speaking of the music, this is some of the best music I've heard on any video game ever, period. This is a gorgeous shmup, and I can't recommend it enough. I first heard of this when watching a classic Game Room review, and when I saw it, I knew I had to have it. I tracked this copy down again from Lukey Games on eBay. Again, if you have a GBA and love shmups, this is one that you have to get. Okay, I picked up one Super Nintendo game that I've been looking for a while now, but I couldn't find it locally, and I wasn't paying high shipping prices for a fairly common game. But I finally found a copy of Super Off-Road at the local game store and got it with store credit again. I remember playing the arcade game at the entrance of our local mall back in the very early 90s with a friend of mine. It was a lot of fun. It still is. I do find it kind of hard to control the car, as sometimes it seems to want to turn the opposite way the direction I intended. And I swear that gray computer-controlled car cheats all the time, with what seems like an endless supply of nitros, but maybe I'm seeing things. Regardless, good game. I'm glad to finally have it in the collection. Now on to the Sega Genesis. The first of 4 games is one I actually picked up a couple of months ago. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? I had been looking for this one for a while too and got it online at GameTrog, but saw this copy in Value Village for $2.99 about a month ago and grabbed it too. This one is actually in better shape and more complete than the one I bought at GameTrog. The premise is of course to capture the thief Carmen Sandiego and her gang while you, the player, are tricked into learning world geography. I loved this game when I first played it on my Tandy-Color computer, and will grab any version on any console I own when I see one. It's the one edutainment game that I really enjoy. The second Genesis game was also thanks to another local collector, Bretsky, who I shouted out recently. He knew I wanted Outrun 2019 and was kind enough to message me that GameCycle had a copy. So I brought in a couple of doubles and picked it up with a little store credit. And I had a little left over which my wife used to buy a DVD of The Notebook. And no, before you ask, I did not watch it. Anyway, I love the original Outrun and have wanted this sequel for a while, and again, didn't want to spend the money online to get it. It's not complete, there's no manual, but as long as it has the box, I'm happy. Really fun racing game, not as good as the original, but I still really enjoy it nonetheless. The third game is also a racing game, Virtual Racing, which I got online from eBay. Another one I've been after, and this one I broke down and bought online, but I made an offer to a seller in British Columbia, and he accepted, so I got it for a good deal. $5 plus shipping. And it's complete. Like Stunt Race FX, which was in my last pickup video, Virtual Racing uses a special chip to enable this game to run on a Genesis, which explains the larger than normal cartridge size. Based on the arcade game of the same name, Virtual Racing is a fun Formula 1 racing game that, although not perfect, plays really well on the Genesis. Finally, once again dipping into my PayPal funds, I purchased a complete in-box copy of Pac-Mania for the Genesis. A great isometric version of the classic arcade game that has the ability of Pac-Man to jump over his enemies, some of which can also jump. If you have this, try playing on the crazy level. Wow, it's almost impossible to go so fast. This is a great game, probably my favorite of the 4 Genesis games I picked up. Again, since my primary collecting love is arcade ports, this is right in my wheelhouse, and I'm so glad I was able to finally get a copy for a good price. Lukey Games came through again, and it's in great shape. Well, there you have it. 15 games added to the collection, many of which I've been after for a while. My 2 favorites are definitely Eridian 2 on the GBA and Pac-Mania on the Genesis. Both excellent games, and I can't recommend them enough. This is Atari Leaf. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.